what to do. Welcome. We're so glad you could make it to the Isle of Roux this week. Nice to see you too.
I'm not on screen right now. I'm doing one thing.
I'm telling people at home. He's right there. I'm really happy that he's here. I'll start with the land acknowledgement. The Creator gifted us with this land that we are blessed to share and care for together. We acknowledge that the land we gather on Wikinstis is the ancestral territory of the Siksika, Sitipi, the Siksika, the Gaina, the Piikani, and the Amskapi Piikani. We acknowledge all First Nations and Métis of Treaty 7 lands, the Sutena, the Ithkabi, which includes Bearspaw, Chiniki, and Goodstony. We commit to advancing reconciliation guided by truths, respecting treaty laws, and humbly walking alongside First Nations, Métis, and Inuit. We recognize all who live, work, play, and make art on these lands and who now call this place home. So we're so grateful that you could make it. We're very grateful to make art with you. And yes, Theo, we're going to share the live link so people can join us. Either join us from their studios or join us just to watch. So we're on that. Do you know how to do the sharing the link?
I sent a link to Theo's phone. I will send it to this page. That's how we usually do it.
So you can copy.
That's how we do.
You can copy and paste that one, and it'll take you through and get you live. Awesome! Hi, Amanda. So lovely. Ah, that is so nice. Number 10 this week, eh?
10.
That's crazy.
Isn't it?
And it's March. First March Isle of Roux.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We should paint a lion or lamb.
Lion.
I just realized years ago, somebody paid me for a painting of a lion and a lamb. And I didn't get around to it so many times. Or did we double sell it?
No, remember you did that lamb, it was like a water splotch. Was that all in the same time?
That's a different one.
Water splotch lamb.
The water splotch, maybe I'll show that tonight. That was a crazy, maybe I'll see if I can find it. That was a crazy incident where I painted a lamb at the Rumble House. And then the next day, while I painted the lamb, I spilled a big splotch of water on the ground. Mm-hmm. And maybe this would be more interesting. Even this. I painted a lamb. See if I can find it. And then I spilled some water. In the morning, I went inside, and I was curious whether the water dried up. And near the lamb that I painted on the floor, but not where, like I painted on a canvas, but on the floor where I was standing, where I spilled the water puddle dried to make the exact same shape as the lamb I painted the night before. I know that sounds like the kind of like story that either doesn't make sense or isn't very believable, but that's a thing that happened. And I'm just randomly scrolling to it. Jess is going to do something very interesting while I'm looking for it.
The letter this week is the letter G. So we're talking about Gaia. Gaia is the G in my book, and the earth goddess, and the idea of where we get all of our sustenance.
Am I online?
And the idea of being, and the idea.
I keep doing this where I do like the, trying to find some privacy so that I'm not scrolling through my phone online. And then last week I'm like, wow, I should really tuck my chin in like that more often. Is my phone online?
Just no, just your finger.
Their butt.
Just kidding.
I'm just dancing. Are you sure my phone's not online? Scandalous.
So G came up on the wheel, and Gaia.
G.
And it's been really
Gordon,
nice.
G.
Outside.
George. All right, this is way too far back. This looks to me like Gorilla House days. Or is it?
No, that was wrong. Anyways, so yeah, G, and we have a bunch of.
What are you teaching today that starts with the letter G? What's your narrative?
I was gonna look at gratitude
That's a good one.
because whenever things are hard, I think we should think about all the stuff we should be grateful for, and that goes with Gaia. Because the fact that we're alive and we're living on this planet is pretty wonderful. So, and we only have like a little bit of time here. So, gratitude for all of it is
We
pretty
really are here
wonderful.
for a good time.
Not a long time.
No.
Yeah. So, that's what I'm thinking of
You know what's
today.
too bad?
What?
It's too bad that the sun can't shine every day. God, we have a cute family. I'm going through these old pictures. Instead of painting tonight, I'm just going to be that guy that scrolls through his phone waiting to show you a photo. I think that's it.
Okay. Um,
Please
Theo,
don't end my phone.
do you see the link that Rich shared here? If you hit copy and paste off of the comments, does that work? Out of curiosity.
Theo, I also texted you the link.
So that's nice. Also, some of the words that we were thinking of was gouache. Rich always is like very masterful painter with gouache and watercolor.
I'm going to give up on the sheet.
Yeah, it's okay. Graffiti, galleries. But I like the idea of the golden ratio and geometry art.
Geometrical.
Also gesso.
Oh, I had a funny story about gesso today.
Did you?
Okay. I'm going to post it again right here. I can see it. I don't know why you guys can't. I'll also put it on my Facebook page. So I sent it to your homes, text numbers. I'm pasting it on the Rumble House page. There we go.
Also the color green.
Is that not the link? How do I test that? I don't even know how to test that from here.
There's Kelly. Hi, Kelly.
Hi.
What am I not understanding about your end where you're not able to get the link?
You posted the face. It said Facebook. It didn't say StreamYard. If you look back at the link, it'll say Facebook instead of StreamYard.
You know what's strange? I just hit paste. I didn't copy it again. I just hit paste. So that's a magic frustration that I don't understand yet, but we'll see.
Magic frustration.
Looks like Theo's got it now.
Yay! So if you want to join from your studio.
Okay, story about gesso.
I thought you were going to say Jessica. I was like, oh no.
Once upon a time, Jessica crazy. What happened was I was so indoctrinated in art school on how to make canvases just one certain way that I went to art school. I finished art school. I became a teacher. I opened up Gorilla House and I just made canvases the way I make canvases, right? I think it might have been Bruce Robertson asked while I was in the room, why do we even use gesso? Which is funny because I don't use gesso the way I'm supposed to. It doesn't bother me to work on raw canvas, so I would constantly work on raw canvas, paint into it, use some gesso at the beginning, use some gesso at the end. I like to show layers of my work, so I'd leave layers of the drawing. I would put in layers of the gesso. I put in layers of my paint, and in the end, I usually put gesso in at the end of my painting. And I didn't really, I wouldn't, one of those things where you know it, but you don't really have words for it. And I remember, I think Elijah was in the room as well. And Bruce said, why do we even have gesso? And Elijah and I was like, who asks that? You gesso your canvas.
You just gesso.
And actually, I remember you had the answer, and you explained why we had gesso. And I don't think I had the answer at the ready. But what would you say now about why we use gesso?
Because canvas is very porous, and you don't, like when you paint, it soaks up a lot of paint. But if you put gesso down, it doesn't soak up so much paint, but also, so it's like, it's economical, but also gesso protects your canvas from the harshness of the
Shelter from the storm.
paint that you are using, so it doesn't eat away at the canvas.
Right.
Did I say that?
No, that's way more than you said.
What did I say?
It was a better answer than we had at the ready. It's gonna be one of those nights, isn't it?
You said to come closer.
Come closer. I think I meant for the opening part. I was going to jam my face.
And then go away.
Actually, when I said come closer, I leaned into your space. And then, like, it was weird because I couldn't get us close enough to be part of the beginning. I was like, oh, I'm not part of the beginning.
Oh.
And then so I wanted to, like, squeeze us in.
Yeah.
And then I purposely moved back to my own space so that I could work without being
Touched.
I like being touched. Not with your knitting needle, but or what's that called? A
Like sewing needle?
embroidery. Okay, what's Rich doing tonight? I'm gonna make some figurines with my high class art supplies. I only kind of know what I'm doing right now, so that complicates things. Can I ask you this?
Yeah.
Maybe what I'll do is get some Ziploc. Those aren't Ziplocs, are they? Some Ziploc bags.
Hi, Theo.
Your letter with
Yeah.
art. Thank you.
Oh, you got it. Yay. You're so welcome.
Yeah, when did you send that? Because you said in the letter that you hadn't even opened the.
We sent it the day before. I think 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Well, it only took 2 weeks to get here then across the city. I'm a little disappointed in Canada Post at the moment.
Oh, I think maybe that was kind of near the postal strike, though, and maybe they had some catching up.
No, it wasn't.
Okay. What I meant was maybe they had some catching up to do.
No, I don't think so.
When they didn't do a good job of striking.
Well, they weren't actually on strike. They were locked out. There is a difference.
Yeah. I don't really know because our teachers union is really an onion.
Okay, well, there you go. There's some social studies 101 for you today. Lockouts are not the same as strikes.
See, we're always learning.
And I really love the Icarus painting, Rich.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that one I cut it down, right?
Yeah, I might have to cut it down a little bit more. I don't know, just around the edges. But yeah, all of them are really sweet, and they will be going into future half-page books of stuff.
Yay!
I think I'm going to make a habit of some of the pieces that look like they'd make nice compositions if they were smaller. I think that's going to be my new habit.
And the other thing?
Yeah.
The other thing that, the next thing that I'm going to be sending you is ATCs.
Oh, yeah.
Really? And yeah, Felix can get into that for me. And my favorite animal, Felix, this is for Felix, is, oh, it's so hard, but I got to go with cats because they're a lot like me. They're independent and they're assholes. Yeah. My second would be dogs because they're just beautiful. But no, personality-wise, I'm more of a cat person than I am a dog person.
That is so lovely.
And my favorite color, Felix, is, well, I guess you'd have to say it's kind of purple because my favorite colors are pink and sky blue. And together, they'd form a purple.
That's lovely.
Well, purplish anyway.
Yeah, yeah. That is really nice. I've been always liking red, but lately I've been liking blue a little bit more, which is nice because of you.
You like blue?
Because
of
of
me?
you. Yeah,
Why?
because you're blue eyes.
I always liked blue, but I kept reading it was basic. And so it kind of made me sad that I had a basic, especially for an artist.
Oh, but indigo is
Indigo is a fancy blue.
not.
And also, I've grown to not worry about being so basic.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff,
Yeah,
speaking of cats,
yeah.
I've got these for sale.
Oh, that's nice. Is that a resin?
It's a resin cat. So I've got 4 different kinds. So there's this one with stars.
Oh, yeah.
I've got this one reaching up.
Oh, that's cute.
I've got this one sitting,
Oh, nice.
and then I've got this one as well, another sitting one.
Oh, that's cute.
And they're only $15 each. And they'll come with a hanger. They hang on the wall.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Those are lovely.
Have to cast more now.
I thought I had more green. Green starts with G.
Gratitude, gravitas.
Yeah.
Theo, what would you say gravitas means?
Gravitas. Well, I believe that's reference to how serious something is. I suppose on a personal level, you know,
Yeah, man.
because killing people on a regular basis, that would be a fair bit of gravitas on the person that was doing the killing. They probably have problems. So the gravitas would be great. Is that correct? I have no idea, but that's my basic feeling.
You have a good day today, Theo?
Did I have a good day today? It was an average day. Nothing great, nothing bad. You know, I didn't, what's the term? Oh, yeah, read a lot of news today. So, I stayed relatively happy. Yeah.
I woke up feeling pretty bleak. And then I started thinking about like some of the other catastrophes that have happened in my lifetime. And then I started realizing or thinking about how a lot of the catastrophes that have happened in my lifetime were quite a bit worse than what we're going through now. Only they were farther away from me. And so it's interesting how like this morning where I thought, wow, I don't think the world's ever been this rough. It might be that just like downtown Calgary's never been this rough. And there might be times when downtown Calgary was way worse. But Jesse and I are kind of grieving our favorite park right now. And
all the trees.
Yeah, no kidding.
Today.
Yeah, it was nice of the city to sell that to some greedhead.
These bags.
Sleaze bags. And I said they move very quickly when they want to. All the trees are already cut down.
Oh, yeah, well, money to be made. What are they going to put there again? Some kind of a high fancy restaurant or something?
Oh,
just pavement.
10-day sleazy party.
Just pavement. What?
Yeah.
They're turning it into a pay for a parking lot?
No, it's like a dance party stampede parking lot.
Oh.
I honestly think it probably comes down to high heels.
Just buy more sensible shoes.
That is strange that a place called Cowboys would want to turn a grass field for parties into a paved.
Well, it's such a perfect venue for live music, outdoors. So it was Cowboys that bought that. I didn't know that. There we go. Just another reason to not fucking like, sorry, I'm going to swear, cowboys. Because
Sorry.
quite obviously, by that action, it proves to the world and to me anyway that they are dickheads. Okay, am I going to cost you your license to broadcast?
No,
Good, good.
we'll yeah,
Are you sure that's true?
I don't know. I said no for 2
Yeah, I think public expression is allowed. So you know, it's not you that's doing this. It's you know, the silly person that is you know, venting.
There's a whole set of like obligations and expectations in the because you know the thing is with YouTube, we've actually earned a high status to be able.
Oh, good show.
But the high status is also like how we are able to do this. So there are certain things that would be better if we didn't like.
Okay, well, I'll just do it this way. You know, when public officials can come right out on any media platform and outright lie and not pay a price for it, the world, social media world, talking to you, you can allow swearing on occasion. You know, when you fix that problem that I just mentioned, I'll be more than happy to never use invective while I'm speaking. Till then, oh, masters of the universe, go fuck yourselves.
So you say you did have a good day, Dan?
Well, no, you brought out some of my ready and primed inflection points, but yeah, buttons, I believe they're called. But yeah, you know, I can't complain about my day. Well, I suppose I could. It was a bowling day, and 2 of my games I completely sucked. But you know, that's to be expected anyway. So I can't really consider that a bad aspect of the day. It was just, you know, if I practiced, I'd probably get a little better, but that's never going to happen. So yeah, you just have to live with it.
At least you got to bowl.
Do you like practicing?
Pardon?
Do you like practicing?
Oh, yeah, it's okay, but again, it's a time thing. You have to get to the lanes. You know, they have to be open for, you know, open play. The house that I bowl in now is really gearing its existence towards
Cowboys?
corporate events and folks are just coming down for a good time. All the evenings anyway. The daytime it's schools. Maybe birthday parties and things like that. I don't know, but they're not really that fond of leagues.
I feel like I would probably have more fun practicing bowling than I would bowling with my friends.
Well, yeah, you know, I mean, you can at least, you know, determine that whether you're improving or, you know, working on an issue with your game or whatever, so you have that immediate satisfaction. Whereas in league, you're just trying to knock the pins down as many as you can and beat your opponent, as it were, which is a really minor aspect of the game at my level. Mine is just, yeah, having fun, seeing friends. You know, the leagues that I'm in, I've been bowling with people for 30 plus years. So, you know, it's like family.
That's really lovely.
And needless to say, like family, we bitch and moan and groan and you know, do all the usual family stuff in addition to bowling.
It's perfect. Sounds perfect.
Yes, it is. No, it is. It's wonderful.
Oh, that's good. Josie's joining us. And she
we have some artwork for
she seconds your from Josie?
Yeah, last week we didn't get it on.
Oh, amazing.
There we go.
I used to bowl too when I was younger. in a league, actually. 5-pin. Not anymore.
I wonder if I can show it.
I won't. I think I'm gonna have to do.
There's another piece.
Okay, I think.
Oh,
Really dark?
that's lovely.
And there's a shark.
Really dark.
Oh, the first lines of Mac the Knife is the shark's teeth. Are those ink or are they lino?
They look like prints to me. Oh, look at this.
Jim Henson's head.
Really, there should be many Jim Henson busts, I think. Over that.
No.
Kermit coming out of his head. That was so good.
And I sent Josie this. This is a paint set. It says Josie only.
Gorilla Art is also
G.
yeah. And when we opened Gorilla House, it was kind of with the play on words of gorilla.
Yeah, it was a play off of Che Guevara.
Yeah. Oh, there's ceramic tiles. Did you make prints off of ceramic tiles? Because I was watching that this week and I thought that was really
Strangely
interesting.
enough, a lady texted us today and asked if we wanted ceramic tiles. Did you know that?
That's interesting.
They're broken pieces.
Oh yeah, no. If you make ceramic tiles and you can carve them just like a lino block and print from them, that's what I was.
No, these were like broken tiles.
So, I wonder where is it Michelina Bamford? I wonder where she is because she does a lot of mural mosaics.
Yeah, we'll pass them on. That's what I said.
Yeah.
I said we're not really a gallery anymore.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. Josie, those are beautiful.
How's school, Josie? One, two, three.
And I think it's going to rain
What?
today.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
This time.
Yeah.
I love your monsters.
Don't you?
I do.
Isn't that nice? It's sad when they pave over your favorite park. You know what's funny though?
What?
The poplars grow up through the cracks. Speaking of which, if anybody has any poplar seeds, send them to me at postbox 13035. How did I end up short 3? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I do 12 because I can't count.
It's hard sometimes.
School is good. All I do is spend my time in the art department, which is the basement of the oldest building on the campus, a highway, and pretend like my other classes don't exist. Well, I can say that tracks. That is what Jesse and I do too. Really? What else is there?
A car honked back at you.
Yeah. Well,
Honk.
let them know it's coming. So that's Roux. Did you make tea for Ted Roux?
Oh, I boiled the water and then I came here to sit down. I will go.
You don't have to go get it.
Oh no, I don't mind.
I
I
love
boiled
that you're getting it. Anybody got any ideas of what we should paint for the letter G? Gravitas.
Green.
I got some green.
Gaia.
Right? What?
Gaia.
Gaia?
Yeah.
I do that every week. I got a Gaia. I got 2 guys right now. Can we show my Gaias? I've got 2. No, I know. I'm just talking. Like, once upon a time. Gaia. So this is Amanda. And this is Kelly. And this is Theo. And this is Rich. And where did Rich's hands go? Here's Rich's hands. And here's Rich's ear.
Hey, Rich, I have an idea for the space episode.
Is it?
Well, you know your clay guy?
Yeah.
What about doing a clay episode with clay, like clay people?
Yeah.
It's an idea.
I will do a play episode. That's actually where a lot of all this started. I was in grade 5, and my grandpa had a Super 8 camera he hadn't used in years. We were talking about that last week because my grandpa. Here's 2 stories. I lived out of my car for about 10 years. If I wasn't on somebody's couch, I was sort of mooching around. There's about 10 years where I was unstable, living more unstable years. And basically to survive, I crafted my life down to, even when I had an apartment or somewhere to live, I crafted my life down to 19 milk crates. Was it 19? 16. 16 milk crates. All of my milk crates I could zip tie together to make a king-size bed, and everything I owned had to fit into the 16 milk crates. And I had 2 single mattresses off I bought my kids new mattresses, and I took the old pea stain mattresses with me because they're easy to move. And I had 2 pea stained single mattresses and 16 milk crates, and then everything I owned had to fit in these milk crates. So I really got rid of a lot of stuff. Like when people go, "Oh, send us pictures of you when you were a baby," I'm like, I don't have pictures of me as a baby. What I did have was a couple spools of Super 8 film that were my grandpa's that I was just waiting to see for years and years and years and years. I carried them around. And when I met Jess, her mom said, "Oh, I have a Super 8 camera in the basement." So we loaded up my Super 8 cameras, my film on her Super 8 projector, and I transferred the video. And at first I was quite disappointed because I knew that it was my grandpa in my mom's dad, Dr. Howell, and his family in Cuba. And I really thought it'd be like my grandmother and, my family, and I'd see what they looked like when they were young. And it wasn't. It was just Glenn Howell walking around with a Super 8 camera shooting Cuba. And of course I was disappointed because I didn't see my family in the shots. Then I realized I was looking at the world through my grandfather's eyes when he was a young man, and I really cherished that film. Completely unrelated. I don't think he thought I shot any more film after he went to Cuba. When I was in grade 5, I saw a documentary on how they made The Empire Strikes Back, and my mom mentioned that she could get me this Super 8 camera from my grandpa who wasn't using it, and they mailed me a Super 8 camera from Vancouver to, was I in Calgary at the time? Yeah, Calgary. And I started shooting Super 8 film by just doing a very fast click, very quick. I had like the way you use your sprocket rocket. I had to vibe my way
Oh.
to just get the 1 second shot, and I shot Super 8 animated films from grade 5 on, and yeah. Why did I tell the story? Oh yeah, Kelly was suggesting that I do the space video.
Oh, animate. So you did little like stop motion almost with your.
I did stop motion with claymation because I'd learned how, and I'd seen how they made the Tauntauns, and they referenced Jason and the Argonauts. Is it too soon to watch a space video? Let's just see. Can I get some feedback? Somebody tell me if it's too soon to watch a space video.
I think that's the longest you went without showing a video right away.
I'm impulsive. Here we go. Ready? This one is episode 10. It was a real joy to shoot. It got kind of complicated, but here we go.
What do you think about my hair lately?
It's good.
This shuttle air is not doing anything for it. I feel like flat, and do you think it's time for a cut?
I just think we need to get where we're going, and we'll worry about that kind of thing later.
Okay.
I'm feeling, to tell you the truth, I'm feeling a little cooped up in here too. I could go for a run. I'm feeling a little, chunky.
Oh, I think you're wonderful.
Yeah.
I kind of wish I wasn't growing so much because, like, all my favorite hoodies I keep outgrowing. Hey, Dad. Maybe if the warpy crystals can take us anywhere in the universe, they can also change,
Fix us. That's a great idea. Whoa. Let's not try that again. You look strange.
G for gratitude.
Okay, I'm going to admit that most of the time when I show these, I get very shy and embarrassed about what I did. That one I'm kind of proud of.
That is amazing.
I like that one. It was awesome.
The when it turns into Three Riches, I actually shot that 3 times, and every time I edited it, I was shocked at how consistently they all looked like I just used the same shot 3 times. But it was
so funny. Oh my god.
Yeah. Might have maxed out my acting capacity in that shot, in that scene. Do you want to meet a new character in our lives? I don't think we've introduced I forget his name. What was our robot's name? He did have a name, didn't he? Oh yeah, Alan. Yeah, I haven't introduced Alan yet. Now, just to spoil the illusion, Alan is a puppet, but he's an animated puppet, and by that I mean he's not animated in a traditional sense, and he functions more like a puppet that I made in Photoshop. And we wanted to talk about some of our anxieties with AI by talking to Alan, but I think we've kind of moved past that. So these are some pre things we did in the summer, and we have to sort of rethink what Alan's going to be in our life now that we're not scared of him.
Isn't that interesting? That was like months, and we were like, we've already moved into completely different consciousness. Yeah. Hey, Alan.
Hello, Jessica.
What are you reading?
I am rereading Player Piano.
It's first day of summer vacation. What's your plans? What are you doing?
That's a good question. With Rich around, I do not get much rest.
Yeah, and that joke has persisted. Oh, I just removed somebody. Shoot, who did I remove? Type in, sorry, I just removed somebody. They have to add themselves back in.
Oh,
Who's
I
still here?
see Kelly, Theo, and Amanda.
Josie, we lost you. Josie, you got to log back in. Sorry, I accidentally.
Wait, Josie was here from her studio?
Yeah, I think I missed. Who do we got? I lost somebody. It shouldn't be that hard to know who's here. Rich, Kelly, Theo. Oh, still in the chat. Oh, okay. Oh, you weren't in the
Josie's
studio.
yeah.
Well, what did I delete?
The video.
I don't
Because you have to
know.
get the video out of it.
That wasn't the. That was actually. I was expecting that to be the video. That I gotta label these better. I thought that was the video where we introduced Ellen. Let's do this video. Because I meant to show it last week when I was feeling bitchy about my park.
Here with Kevin. We are here to talk to you about the paving of Cowboy Park. I couldn't agree more with you, Dead Kevin, that perhaps the name, Cowboy Park, nothing speaks to me when I think of pavement, paving, and hard ground that has been industrialized for beer gardens. And I'm intrigued by the decision to pave Millennium Park, change the name to Cowboy Park, and then cover it in pavement. It's a little bit counterintuitive, if you ask me. I am pleased that there will be a future Blues Fest at this paved park. Presumably, the pavement will help the tent pegs adhere the tents to the ground, and the removal of the stage will be advantageous in some way that I have not quite pieced together yet. But I can only assume that a visionary award will be provided to the genius, no doubt, who came up with this plan to industrialize a park and call it for Cowboys. I quite like the Blues Fest. I know you like to attend, and something we have in common. And hopefully we can get to the bottom of this. The very, very bottom of this, where the grass is gone and where they lay the pavement on the ground, and where the bugs will no longer play. You could still dive for a frisbee on the pavement, but it might not be in your best interest. Maybe they will have anchors of sorts that they could adhere fences to more easily. But given that they've been running the Blues Fest in the same space for 25 years, I do seem to be lacking in an explanation as to why they would want to pave such a beautiful park.
So that goes back to sometimes I feel weird and embarrassed about the stuff we create. And
that one was pretty cute. You did a few iterations of that, and you rarely do different takes.
Yeah, no, I
Because
did a different voice.
You were trying out different characters with that
Yeah.
puppet, which is really interesting.
I think the first voice for that puppet felt like it might have been interpreted
or inauthentic. Like you're
yeah, and then it became that puppet became Willis Conover, my new favorite DJ.
Yeah, I like how you spoke. Like, I'm obviously not seeing the brilliance of this move right now.
Not until they give somebody a visionary award for tearing a park apart.
Maybe they have a new way to adhere tent pegs to the concrete. That guy's so funny.
It is funny, isn't it?
And Dead Kevin is just such a good listener.
I know. What should I paint? Oh, pass me those.
Oh yeah.
So we have a new letter. Oh, we have a new letter. And
this one's going to Cindy.
Okay, just pass them over and show. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to be so aggressive. This is my Gaia for Cindy. Now, this might seem strange, but that's a position that Jess naturally likes to sit in all the time. You walk out and find her sitting in the living room.
That's actually a really good pose for your back and your hip.
It's an ancient practice to sit
kind of like realigning pose.
This, I think, will go to Theo for his. I'm going to crop that down to the mandatory 5x8. And this is what I painted last week. And I started getting anxious because I wasn't getting a lot of people dialing in to get my pieces. But I think as the mail increases, we're going to have all these pieces to mail to people that send us their address.
Oh yeah, where's the
You
piece
remember
of
this
mail
lovely
from Mom?
lady?
Yeah, that one's going out to
That's going to your mom?
Mom, yeah.
Okay. And this one is actually pretty. I'm going to tell this whole story maybe. Oh, I should. Yeah, I'll tell this story.
That's really nice.
And this painting has no meaning, but it's a bicycle, and I love bicycles.
That's
Okay.
no meaning. Oh,
So,
here, Edward, look.
I'm starting to just stockpile these little paintings, so that depending on who contacts us, we'll have things to put in.
Yeah, I think
And
that's
at
nice.
first I thought, like, what happens if nobody wants these paintings? But then what I realized is maybe in the future, instead of 1 or 2 mail letters we get a week, it'll be thousands, literally thousands of letters. Okay, this one is like kind of like sometimes when I'm watching TV, we don't have TV, so that's a weird thing to say. But I'm watching like a movie or something. Oh, I know what it was. We canceled Netflix, and then now it has commercials. It's like decades since we've seen commercials. Sometimes when I'm like, if a commercial comes on, part of the image will like stick to me. This is kind of bubblegummy. It's not specifically a bubblegum commercial, but it's just something that kind of popped into my head. And this is my new Gaia. And this is more like somehow like a lady that maybe is living kind of wild, and maybe she's making potions in the park, and my little man panda's there. And it's actually, this is the last board of the watercolor books that I like to buy. This is a funny story. Maybe I'll tell this whole story. Maybe I won't. Maybe I will. Who knows? Probably me. I'm probably the only one that knows. Do I have some tape that I can pin this down?
Mhm.
So this is a strange thing. Now, I tell people I haven't told this story very often, and I probably have. So, like, you know, I was telling people today, like, well, I don't usually tell the story. And what I mean by is I often don't tell the story because it's kind of a complex visual to understand, right? And there's really 3 stories here, and then there's a 4th that joined us. I don't think this tape is very strong. I'm anticipating that I will have to continuously.
I believe in us.
It's the tape I don't believe in. Do we have anybody with us? Okay.
We got lots of people.
Here's my story. Once upon a time. Here we go. Zoom in. Okay. Right here, my friend and I went hiking, and we were at the top of Moose Mountain, which the kids asked me about today. And I don't know if it's really called Moose Mountain, but let's just say it was. We went to the ice caves after we were evicted from a campsite. So we weren't even evicted. We were in a tent. Our food was in somebody's van. My friend Martin's food container was outside, but the food was in somebody's van. And the person that had our food in their van got evicted because I think there was some drinking happening at the campsite. Teenagers, right? And so what happened is, and I don't think you can see this very well on screen. We woke up at the campsite. There was people there, but they weren't people we knew. We had a choice between going back to Calgary or hitchhiking from the campsite to what I call Moose Mountain. That might not be the right name, but if I have the right name, there was also some ice caves there. So we kind of went and looked at the ice caves, stashed his cooler at the bottom of the mountain, and spent like an entire day hiking to the top of the mountain. At the top of the mountain, there's like these a couple of erratics, a couple
Jessica's?
no,
She's erratic.
stones, and they just happen to be about tent size, and they kind of sit in a circle. And there's like 3 of them. There's just room for a tent to go inside. So
Cool.
the temperature really dropped. Well, I forgot to say this. So we woke up in the morning with 2 pieces of bread, 2 cans of food, and a bottle of Barbarian Cooler, which I haven't drank Barbarian Cooler since, or any kinds of cooler since. And so we knew not to drink the Barbarian Cooler because it would have made us more thirsty. And we hiked all the way up this mountain. Just pretend this line here is a mountain. We set up a tent in the top of this erratics. It got really cold really fast, and we heard scary ghost noises. And all we did was hike, camp, sleep, and go home. It was all loose shale on the way up, which is probably not like, I shouldn't be saying this because it's probably against the law to go up the loose shale because maybe we could have started a rock slide. On the way down, there's this space that was a dried up riverbed, and this is what I'm drawing here. And I would say it was about half a football field on about a 45-degree angle. And so this is me and him right there. We belly crawled our way down this dried up riverbed, thinking, I hope that cliff over here isn't too steep. And at the top of this, we dropped our bags, so the bags went off the edge. I'm like, oh, I heard it land. Did you hear it land? They're like, oh, I heard it land. Yeah, I heard it land. Awesome. It can't be that too far. And then poof, we heard the bags land. I was like, wow, that might be really long. So we kind of belly inched our ways down to this edge, and this is me also. This is Martin and I, and this is Martin and I. So we're on the edge of this cliff looking down, and there's all kinds of rocks and handholds, but it was a straight cliff. And I remember it being kind of about as high as the roof of my school. And so from right here, teenage boys do stupid things. I went first, and I climbed about 3/4 of the way down this cliff, and around 3/4 of the way down, I got to a spot where there's absolutely nothing to grab onto. Now, to save my life, I never would have thought I would have got from here back up to here. There's no chance I thought I could have got back up to here, and there's even less chance that I thought I could get back up to here and then back up to there. So I was kind of sitting on the edge of the cliff, and the bottom of the cliff is off the screen here. Bottom of the cliff is down here. And so here I was, a young man on the side of a cliff with a bright future about to dissipate. And I thought to myself, I'm not getting back up to this edge. There's no way I'm getting back up to there. And then it would take all day to get around here to get where my bags are. So I was sitting on the edge of the cliff, resigning myself to the idea that I was going to fall off this cliff, and that when I hit the ground, maybe the more relaxed I was as I plummeted to the ground, the less damage I would take. Then, because I hadn't had anything to drink or eat, I started to hyperventilate, and my throat dried up, and I started gagging. And I was in a really dangerous situation. It was fun up until this point when I started gagging. I couldn't really breathe when I started gagging. And now, this is the part that I don't really normally tell people. Not really inside my head, but definitely not outside of my head. I heard a voice that was in all places at once, and that voice addressed me by my first name, and readdressed me by my first name when the voice, it was a male voice. Mm-hmm. It was a very familiar voice, but it wasn't Morgan Freeman. It was just a voice in my head, and the voice said, "Rich, you are wasting your energy. You need to climb right now. Go." And then I blanked out, and I found myself back up at this point on the cliff. And at that point, Martin and I just stood on the end of the cliff and cried. I remember both of us sort of crying. And then we went all the way back up and hiked all the way back around and picked up our bags and went down the hill. That's story number one, where I heard this crazy voice, and the crazy voice said, "Rich, you're wasting your energy. You need to climb right now." Now, part two of this story happened a few years later. There's a particularly large friend of mine in art school that used to bully everybody. And because I used to wrestle, I didn't like being bullied by him. So this is a picture of me choking him out. And I had every intention of choking him until he passed out. It was about the 5th time he picked a fight with me. It was the first time I really lost it and thought I need to impress upon this friend of mine that he should stop bullying people. So in my irrational state, I remember choking him and thinking, well, here's how I'm going to solve this problem. I'm going to choke him till he passes out. And then I'm going to walk over to my pencil case, get out my scissors, and cut his hair off. And if anybody stops me, I remember thinking, well, the chairs are really heavy, so I'll just throw a chair at somebody, and then everybody will be scared at the chairs, and then I'll have time to cut the hair off. And I remember in this group of people, this one guy that I knew said in a very familiar voice, but not the same voice, he said, there's people screaming, like, "Oh, stop, you're going to kill him." And I remember not caring, because I was out of my mind, right? Yeah. And something snapped in my head, and I wasn't myself. And I remember not caring what those people said, and honestly thinking, like, this is convenient. Those chairs are so heavy. And I remember in this group of people, his name was Ken Swan, said to me, "Rich, do you know what you're doing, Rich?" And it sounded so much like the voice I heard on the cliff. But in this case, it was Ken. Yeah. But also, like, Ken's voice came to me through the crowd. Right. Again, a situation I can't really explain, but that snapped me out of it. I was absolutely mortified that anybody got in a fight with my friend. And I remember I went in the bathroom and washed my face, and this boxer who was like a kind of younger and really ears, "What was that move you did?" I was like, "Just shut up and get away from me." And so, but I remember being really kind of like grateful for Ken Swan, gratitude, to snap me out of this crazed. And like, this was after like years and years of bullying, I snapped. Yeah. Okay. Now, the third time it happened, Jess and Rich were in the van. We had figure drawing till 11 o'clock. We had every intention of driving to Vancouver the next day, but we thought we'd leave the gallery and we would start driving to Vancouver from, say, like Cochrane or something.
Canmore in the morning.
We'd get a start. So we're driving up to Vancouver. Right before we left, some of the sketchy people came into the gallery and they're like, they wanted to hang out because it was cold and they had nowhere to go. And Jess is like super honest. She's like, we can't really help you. We're on our way to Vancouver. We'll be gone for a week. And I was like, maybe you don't have to tell everybody everything. And so they're kind of lingering around, and I think they're going to break in later. And meanwhile, so we get in the van, and a couple other things went wrong, like one of the lights went out or something. And we're on the highway, and I said to Jessie, I said, scale of 1 to 10, how important is it to you that we go to Vancouver tonight? And she's like, oh, 10 out of 10. And then she fell asleep. Inside the van, my oil light flickered just 1 second. And we had like an old van where that happened all the time, so it wasn't a big deal. And I thought it flickered on and off. I thought, well, that's fine. And then we're driving, and about 20 minutes later, the light flickered again. And I thought, okay. And then it's going to be okay. I just keep going because you told me it was a 10 out of 10 you needed to go. After the second time the light flickered, while Jessie was asleep and I was alone on the highway plowing along, I heard a voice, the same voice, and the voice in my head said, Rich, are you paying attention to the signs, Rich? And I was like, that's it. So I pulled the van over. We went to sleep. In the morning, we got up and had the most ridiculous argument about something that wasn't important. And we don't do that. And it was a strange occurrence. And I remember just thinking, this trip is so jinxed. So I turned the van around. We drove back to Calgary. We stopped at the gallery to unload some stuff because our gallery is so close to the apartment. After we unloaded the stuff in the gallery, it started to rain. The rain turned to pour. The pour turned to hail. And we're sitting in the gallery laughing about how the gallery was getting pounded by hail because it was just funny to watch. And then I thought, well, I better go check the back because we used to get floods in the back. Or what had happened, and this is a different part of the picture. The building next to us had a pipe that went from the roof and then redirected the water towards the back alley, but only the pipe broke, and it broke at just the right angle that there was the end of the pipe about the size of a volleyball or a melon was shooting this melon-sized tube of water at our back window, and the back windows went boom, 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 boom. And so I went out and I stuffed some stuff in it, and I wrapped the end and I duct taped it shut, and we called the landlord, and they came and fixed the emergency pipe that was pounding like a fire hose against our back window. I don't think that voice, if that's a real thing, is the kind of thing that tells you go back to the gallery, your window's going to get broken, the gallery's going to get flooded. I think it's the kind of voice that may or may not be part of schizophrenia, or maybe it's a voice that says now would be a crappy time to get on the Trans-Canada Highway. Mm-hmm. But the 3 times that I heard that voice in my life dramatically affected my livelihood. 10 years later, when I was reading Childhood's End, I remember there was a scene where one of the kids in the book was standing at the edge of the coast, and he heard a very similar voice in his head to run, and he started to run, and then a tsunami came. On the way up the path, there was a rock in the way. The voice said, close your eyes. The kid in the book closed his eyes, opened his eyes, and he was on the other side of the rock. And they discussed that in the book, Childhood's End, Arthur C. Clarke. Mm-hmm. Those were the 4 experiences I had that explained this phenomenon. Once when I was on the side of a cliff, maybe my creativity, maybe my imagination, maybe schizophrenia. Once when I was out of my state and my mind was in an impaired state, and I was rage fighting this friend of mine. Ken Swan's voice came in and sounded very similar to it. Once when the oil light came on the highway, and those 3 voices seemed so similar to the thing I read in the book, kind of just carried this story around in my head, because it's also hard to tell. Like, it's hard to explain this cliff, a 45-degree angle, and then a straight angle. That's just the hard part of the story. But just out of the blue, I discovered there's a phenomenon called one of 2 things. It's called third man syndrome, which would imply it's a psychological problem, or third man factor, which would imply there's something that we don't understand. But it happened with Ernie Shackleton. And I'm reading a book right now. I just started researching it, and it turns out there's many people that explain this very similar situation. And the only thing that's different in my situation than the ones I'm reading about right now is that in the three times I heard this voice, it addressed me by my name. It said something important, and then it closed the conversation by repeating my name. And I haven't found any evidence of anybody who's heard the voice say their name twice, which is such an insignificant, irrelevant part of the story. But there's like story after story after story where people were trapped, often in the mountains, sometimes near the ocean. Usually when they're in groups of one or two. If they're groups of two, they tend to remember three people escaping. If they're in groups of one, they remember two people escaping. It might be like just something that happens in your brain when you're at a near-death experience, but I'm currently just reading about the third man factor, and it's really on my mind lately. And I hate people that tell a story. I don't hate people, sorry, say that differently, but it frustrates me when people get excited and they tell ghost stories and weird stories, because when they're eager to believe in them, I lose faith in them as a source. If somebody told me this story, I would absolutely think they're a crackpot. I never said I wasn't a crackpot, but I know to keep that stuff to myself.
T.S. Eliot wrote about it in The Wasteland as well.
That's where the phrase third man.
When I looked back, there was a third man.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, we talk a lot about remembering and like collective subconscious, and because like that it happens to many people in those like survival moments, or really either repetitive situations where it's almost like climbing, or they're in like it's almost like a state, like a meditative state, or a state where, like you said, like out of your mind, like your
They often talk about
consciousness is flipped. Like,
people would say there's certain things people say backwards all the time, like the sacred cow is a backwards statement. I'll get into that later. But the idea that my mom had told me when I saw my first mirage, we're on the highway going somewhere, and she goes, "Oh, look, there's a mirage." And I was like, "What's a mirage?" And she's like, "Oh, they used to kill people in the desert." And she went on to say that a mirage is when you see the illusion of water on the highway, and you walk out into the desert thinking that you're going to get to water source, and there is no water, so it kills people. Now, actually, as I grew up, and maybe even in the anthropology studies, realized that it's more likely that you're in the desert. Our particular species is prone to imagining water where there isn't, and where you would otherwise give up and sit down and cry yourself to death, or die of thirst. The skill of perceiving vapor at the end of the highway and mistaking it for a water source is most likely what keeps people walking through the desert until they reach the edge. So it's interesting that like my mom presented that to me so absolutely backwards, is to say that the illusion of water probably killed people in the desert. It's more likely that our species survived because we had the inclination to keep walking when we might have otherwise given up. Similarly, one of the reasons why they think we believe in ghosts is because some of our ancestors were prone to thinking there was ghosts, and some were prone to thinking there wasn't ghosts. And when you're walking through the tall grass and there's a mountain lion in the grass, or a jaguar or a cougar, if you're prone to getting startled and running away, then your offspring will live longer than the people that didn't have a tendency
I
to.
am so prone to getting startled and running away.
Yeah.
Just so you know. Survival, that instinct, like you said, is what.
And then like also like I think it's a British tendency. My mom was explaining to me, and I think she said it was erroneous, but when you talk about a sacred cow and you're talking about like here's a group of people that might be starving to death, yet the cows roam free because they worship cows. The British, in India weren't noticing that people were living off the cows and able to milk the cows and get substance from the cows on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And they didn't need to
kill it because then it's gone.
They didn't need to kill it because then it was gone. But also they didn't need to own land because the cows could just kind of coast around and be part of the community as worship beings. So it is funny how like backwards and smarmy we can all be, like you're saying it completely wrong and you're missing the point, and yet it's a metaphor for people missing the point. It's a bit ironic, isn't it?
That's really beautiful.
Yeah, I think I'm done this one. It didn't take long.
Get more paper. That's really beautiful.
I really think with watercolor, brevity is the key,
Mm.
which is funny because I'm also committed to overworking everything I do. And it's not that I'm weak and I don't know when to stop. I absolutely know when to stop, but I like not stopping. The only thing I like more than not stopping when I should is taking something that's kind of okay and tearing it up right after you said it was wonderful.
Well,
It's just a flex. It's not authentic.
I
I can do that whenever I want.
No, I don't believe that it's
I
inauthentic.
do find that I radio project a lot when I'm painting, and that kind of fits quite comfortably. I don't have a problem saying like, oh, when I'm painting, I'm often just like watching my hands go, wondering who's driving the bus. That doesn't I don't find that flaky at all. But telling the story about this voice in my head, you know. I don't know. Like growing up, I always thought it was a matter of time before I either ended up in prison or got a lobotomy in a mental institution. And I don't think the signs were there yet when I was young, but I remember just thinking that was an ever present concern of mine that when my turn on the cuckoo nest came, would I be able to get over that wall before they cut my brain out? And then so anything that remotely sounded like a criticism of my sanity or anything really set me off because it's kind of on the cusp as it was. That's a lot of personal information, Rich. Maybe you don't need to share everything. Maybe I don't.
I think we're trying to
Normalize?
normalize talking.
Well, they
Because when
say
we
that,
don't-
you know, and there was that TELUS thing where you're supposed to normalize talking, but it doesn't stop like,
When it's something from TELUS, it's just about
Right.
money. Like
it also doesn't stop you from not getting that job promotion
right.
when they're not sure if you're going to be. See, I overworked this, but
I'm just. You're actually really inspiring me. I was thinking of getting my watercolors out. The idea of this beautiful, like it's so. Oh, the gradient of the color and the
I phoned you today to talk about magpies.
really.
Yeah, I was driving home on the highway,
Oh,
and you noticed I phoned you a few times.
yeah.
Yeah, one of the times I phoned you, I already knew you were busy because you hadn't answered the phone the first few times.
Mhm.
But then, like a young magpie flew right in front of my windshield, and I was struck by how differently the flying dynamics. It almost looked like a different bird. It had magpie colors,
Hmm.
and it had a short tail, and the wings were curved up. And I was like, "That's not how magpies fly." And then it landed, and it was more dropping than landing. And I think I realized it was a young bird.
Hmm.
And I think magpies kind of go through like stages of how they fly.
Hmm.
Because like the older ones, I think, are more like jets, and this was more like a glider.
Also, is it very windy on the highway?
Sure
today?
was.
Yeah, so maybe he was playing with the wind. Because sometimes you just see them rolling in the beautiful wind. It's just,
Do you like this painting I did? Oh, it's the cover of mine. Watercolor book. Is that too much light?
It
You like better A?
well, no, it just
or B?
depends on what colors you're
I
using.
kind of like that hot spot.
Because if you're using lighter colors, the water. I mean, light. Please.
Ironically, Jesse and I, when we did have a drinking problem, was almost exclusively bourbon. And with the trade war, bourbon would have been what we'd have to give up. And my vice, other than bourbon, was absolutely orange juice, which I don't drink anymore because we gave up booze
Sugar.
and sugar at the same time. And so I won't, and we don't really eat a lot of fruit because we eat berries and vegetables.
Keto, yeah.
And so really we're pretty impervious from the grocery trade war, other than the peanut butter I've been told might be a problem. But I think we should have all been buying Canadian anyways. The more people freak out, the more I wonder if they were buying Canadian last year. I do understand like the job losses and the home insecurity are big issues, but I don't care about the price of orange juice. I should. Maybe I'm being insensitive.
No. Juice. Juice is juice.
Maybe if we should go back to drinking, get some bourbon. Just kidding. Next month we hit 1,000 days sober. Well, I don't know if sober is the right word. We just decided to stop imbibing. Is that the right word? Imbibing. That was decided to stop drinking as much as we did. Make it sound like we were waking up in back alley or something. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Whoop. This is my Acme police whistle. I got it because it was about the 1,000th time that we listened to Highway 61, and I was like, "What is that sound?" And then I think in the movie, the biopic with Timothy Chalamet, he picked one up at a street market. I was like, "That's what that thing is." And I realized I was missing one. Have I told this story every week? We went to a play, and on the way out of the play, there was like literally 50 clowns circled around the staircase, making weird, like it was a clown Dada language where they were protesting something in a clown like bib, and they're making these weird like bibbing noises at us. And I had my clown whistle in my pocket for a week. I happened to take it out of my pocket to go to the theater, but can you imagine if you're getting protested by like clowns like striking in the stairwell, and instead of like being like shy or sheepish, he just went whoop, 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 whoop.
That would be really funny.
What shall I paint now?
G is for golden ratio in geometry.
Jordan.
G is for gesture drawing.
George.
Group of 7.
Oh, group of 7. Nice one. Nice one, Isle of Roux. I'm not really into group of 7 right now. I do like the idea of the golden ratio, but I don't know. I do that one a lot.
Guerrilla art.
Gorilla, gravity.
Graviton.
I did gravity. When did I do gravity? What
we were talking about weight. No.
Yeah. Maybe we did land on G before.
No. Oh, I wrote all of them down. Jupiter.
What's that got to do with gravity? There's no gravity in Jupiter?
It's the heaviest gravity.
We'll stretch a letter into anything.
I know.
Here's a dead Kevin. Let's see what he had to say. I just got fed up with the gatekeepers and the tastemakers. We opened up Gorilla so that we could do what we wanted, unfettered. It kind of got out of hand. I mean, instead of kicking the doors open, we knocked the whole buildings down, and then people were just doing whatever they wanted in the streets. We wanted to democratize access. We wanted to kick open the gates and hang the gatekeepers. We certainly didn't want to become the gatekeepers, because the gatekeepers just end up homogenizing everything. You know, it's everything's got to be teal and dolphins, or it doesn't get seen. And so for us, it was more like having an opportunity to see like everything outside of the box. Every great movement came from the outsiders pushing against whatever academy existed, whether that was the art galleries or the upper crust or whatever it is. It's always been a rejection of what was acceptable. Yeah, but who says what quality is? It's just an excuse for people that are middle-minded to say that since they're doing it right, then everybody else is doing it wrong. I don't even, like, what is mediocrity? You're not wrong. In the beginning, we meant it to be exclusive. It was just 8 of us. And then a couple of the 8 didn't show up, and then this kid with a backpack just rolls in with his art supplies, and we're like, what are you doing? And then immediately we're like, that's actually pretty good. So, like when I finished art school, I had basically trained myself to make art for people that had gone to art school who also didn't have money to buy art. And it wasn't until I started really looking at the kooks and seeing how like obtuse and how uptight I'd become that it really started to open up for me. And I think I learned as much from the untrained artists over the span of 2 years at Rumble House or Gorilla House than I had in 6 years of art school. I mean, it's for sure good to balance those things, but sometimes you just learn what not to do. Yeah, like worst case scenario, you see some art that's not good, but I mean, that doesn't hurt you. And then, I mean, it's all good. It might not all be popular. It might not all be stuff that you can sell or hang in your living room, but I mean, what isn't good if it's real, if it's honest? That's the hard part. Everybody wants to quit their day job. I mean, art's fantastic. Art is essential for, you have to make art to live. You have to share art to live. We as artists, we want to sell art to live, but I'm not sure you have to buy art to live. And that's the hard part there. It also doesn't help that, you know, the people that take advantage of artists leave them with the sensation that all they have to do is make something and then the money's coming their way, because sometimes this idea that, hey, I'm finished my art, where's my paycheck, can really make things tough for everybody. It's pretty good.
Oh man. I'm glad you record these conversations.
Some of them are more therapeutic for my own self. What was interesting about that is I was really writing lots of content for what Dead Kevin wasn't saying.
Yeah.
And I had this idea that, like, if I made Dead Kevin not speak, but we only heard one side of these conversations, that the viewer would have a weird sort of like inside feeling, almost like those blockout poems.
Yeah, cut up.
You'd have a sense of what was being communicated, but
Yeah.
not know exactly. And so it's a good chance for me to vent, because most of the complaining I do from Kevin's point of view, and then I don't include it. But I think that was the first time, because I made that in early in the summer.
Yeah.
And so I was able to watch it, and I don't necessarily remember what Kevin was saying, but it was interesting to watch from the outside. It's like, oh, that's how a viewer would see one of these. I don't care if they're interesting to watch. It's free. So I got in here.
They are interesting though. It
Right.
poses good ideas and good questions. Good conversation. And G is for gatekeepers.
All right, speaking of gatekeepers, somebody had come I woke up one morning the day they announced the traveling light, which most people know is the Big Blue Circle. And we ended up having a Gorilla House about it. But here's another video I made a long time, early stages of testing out how Dead Kevin would work for us. Oh yeah, it's actually called Traveling Light. I only know that because when it happened, I started getting like a pummeling of emails from people that were just furious from an article they read in the Calgary Sun. Yeah, no, we had a lineup for Gorilla Mouth. We used to have these artists show up, and Fridays we talked about art, and we pushed back our lineup for Gorilla Mouth that week. Decided to do a whole event just sitting around gabbing about Traveling Light or the Big Blue Circle. Well, at Gorilla Mouth, it was mostly artists, so it wasn't so much about how much money was spent. It was more about that it was done by like an outside group, like German design team, and so the artists at Gorilla Mouth were more concerned that it didn't go to a local bid. See, that's the problem, right? It's not so much tax money. It's more like if you want to open up a project in Alberta, then a business company comes in, and if they make a certain amount of money, or when they make a certain amount of money, like 1% of what they make has to go to an art project in Calgary. So it's not our money at all. It's more like if you had, at my school, there's boundaries where the kids can come in, and if you live outside the boundaries, you have to negotiate whether you can come to the school. And it'd be more like if my school said, your kids can come to my school if you build a swing set. And then all the parents on the playground going, well, nobody asked, we wanted a seesaw. But it was never tax money. It's money that's generated by businesses wanting to come to Alberta to do oil stuff. No, it was worse. We had Rachel Supersand contacted me to let me know that she would love to talk at the Gorilla Mouth. And so we invited her down, and she spoke last. So we had all these people come in that were really like furious. And then at the end of the night, we're like, now our next speaker is Rachel. And she walked up and talked about how the plan fell into place. You know, and she was so gracious. Like, it could have been a bloodbath, but she was super nice. And I think a lot of the people that were sort of complaining about the project are also artists that might be looking for funding in the future. So it was kind of like this massive, like, Rachel came in and she calmed everybody down, and then everybody was quite peaceful and they talked about it. I think one of the biggest troubles with it being a group of outsiders was that the artists didn't quite realize it needed to be a project of a certain magnitude, and you needed to be able to build a massive structure that won't tip over and kill anybody. So later on, we came up with a plan for the city to spend that kind of money, but initially it was mostly just kind of people being misinformed. Well, I didn't, because I hadn't seen it in person, and so I wouldn't until I saw it. My whole stance was, I haven't seen this. Most of you haven't seen this. I'm not talking about it until I see it. A lot of people kept talking about it, whether they saw it or not, because talking about it and seeing it wasn't what mattered to them. I was driving up Deerfoot to the airport. I completely forgot about the structure. A number of weeks later, it was kind of one of those gray days when the sky's gray on one side and lit on the other. So backlit from the morning sun, it was just this gleaming blue circle up against, it was October, so up against a golden sea of dry grass and a giant blue sky. And I've never seen it look so beautiful since, but the first time I saw it, I was like, wow, that is a treasure. You know, other times I've seen it and thought it's not so great, but when I did see it, I quite liked it. I don't really love reading why from the artist, but I'll tell you a couple things about what I think. One, knowing that it was a group of Germans that came to Canada, I bet you they looked out this horizon and thought we take it for granted. And I could imagine them thinking, I'm going to put a big lens so that we can see what they see, this beautiful sea of gold and blue. And that was my theory, that I think that's how it got made that way. I would 1000% bet that somebody decided to put the antlers on top with the streetlights, because I think that was ill-conceived, and it seems like a death by committee. I do think, now, I've dealt with many friends of mine that have done mural projects that needed to be approved by committee. I have a darker theory about the the big blue ring. I could tell you. Okay, so just roll through your mind about the idea of having a committee approve your project, and maybe you're from Germany and you come out and you're sort of getting to know the people and you're looking at the site and you're thinking to yourself, oh, I'll make a big blue lens, and then you're going through the stages of approval. And this is what I would suspect. I think committees tend to dummy down ideas. Sometimes I think in the approval process you get defiant. So this is the sneaky underside of the big blue circle. Kevin, if you're to be totally honest with yourself, what, just off the top of your head, what would you think the most basic color is? Right, no offense to your lovely locks. Blue, yeah, it's the most basic color. It's the first, it's the most common, it's most people's favorite. And then if you were to simplify an object to its most almost redundant state, square has 4 points, triangle has 3 points, a circle is just one line. Right, you've got the most basic color, you've got the most basic shape. It might have been a cry for help for somebody dealing with a committee. And I think that's what happens with committees, is you end up getting a group of people that want to tell a story, and a group of people that want it to be accessible to everybody, and a group of people that want it to be really dynamic, and a group of people that want it to be super easy. And I think it got dummied down to the most redundant color and shape to make a very basic sculpture. I might even wonder if on an intuitive level, most citizens might even see that it was a nudge at its base out of frustration. That's my dark version of it. I don't know if that's true, and I haven't read it. I can't speak to that, but I can tell you as an artist, a blue circle says to me somebody wasn't listening. we did have a solution. We had a solution that came up, and we spoke to several politicians about it during the Beaufort Towers. When the Beaufort Towers had such an outrage, we had a number of politicians come by and ask us what they should have done. We wrote out an entire plan. I've seen elements of that plan come to fruition, as though it went through a committee. And you know, I wasn't looking for a medal, but I'd say things are slowly changing. I think ultimately, if you're going to put art in the public, it can't be offensive to anybody. It should be local artists. Really, you have to know that most of the people will be outraged that it's there, and you lose your viewer just by having it there.
It's funny you're talking about blue eyes.
Blue eyes.
I was talking about blue eyes. You're talking about blue
eyes. What happened there? Here we go. Let's go here. Let's go here. Okay. Who's this? Whose name is this? And then who's this?
Theo.
And then who's this?
Kelly.
And then who's this?
Hi.
And then who's this?
You're beautiful.
What's that?
Your beautiful painting. I love your use of positive and negative space and how effortless you just like block. Just block it in, and it's just like, oh.
Ain't no fine with gel ring.
So lovely.
Cheap viewers. Our viewers are free. How do I remove this? What is a star? It's a weird thing.
There used to be the option to hide or remove.
Yeah, I think that might even be like something that comes through our StreamYard or something like.
Well, that one's from Twitch.
I don't know why. She swallowed a fly. She ain't never gonna die. Those like as like a listener versus then a creator, I actually kind of find those Dead Kevins kind of fun to watch because it is kind of challenging to follow the narrative. They're more fun than I thought they'd be.
I do like it, like as a listener to be, yeah, like you have to engage in a different way. I like that a lot.
We learned a lot at Gorilla Mouth. That was like really useful.
Oh, it's really nice.
I guess in some ways, Gorilla Mouth was even a little more like what we're doing right now.
Yeah, giving
than what we did after.
Giving a people
kind of, space to sit and chat.
Yeah, totally.
I am looking forward to when we hear more voices. Can you pass me the mail that came?
I asked you where it is. I don't know where.
This is not finger pointing, Jesse.
No, sorry. I meant like.
You know what? I was just kidding. Okay. Did it get left in the car?
No,
Who carried it in?
Well, you had it in the car. I'm not finger pointing. I didn't see it. Once we sat in the car, I didn't see it.
Is it the back of the car? Do we open it up next week?
Do you want to go down quickly? It's not in your bag?
What?
Do you want me to?
I don't think why would I have put it in my bag?
Well, you took a picture while you're sitting in the front seat.
Here, write this. What would you do 10 to 10 people while I'm gone? Sometimes
maybe I should go.
Sometimes you just zone out. No, you're people like you more than me. But like I would need to have faith that you were.
Oh no, I would just be embroidering in the silence.
That doesn't work for a
Because
broadcast.
I like silence.
Oh, we could turn the sound off.
No. How would that help?
Mm.
Then if someone else talked, I wouldn't be able to hear that.
You take a look around the house. I just went and looked. I found nothing. Maybe on the bed? No, I'm alone. What have I done? What? Is that what it is?
I didn't.
You say you remember it being in the car?
Yeah, because you took a picture while you were sitting in the car, in your hand.
Are you sure? You're right.
There's picture evidence.
100% you're right.
I'm not crazy.
Did I say you weren't right?
No, you said it was, but I'm saying like I'm talking to myself now. Like, am I crazy? Is I here?
Yay! You know it's lucky. It's lucky we didn't go down the car looking for it during the broadcast. Where was it?
In the by the bags and.
That's on me. I did that.
It's okay. I'm not. I just wanted to find it. Fine. There's.
So here's the thing. If you'd like to mail us a letter, you can at the Isle of Roux, P.O. Box 13035, Beltline RPO, Calgary, Alberta, T2R1C6, and then include your return address.
And then we'll send you our back.
I've taken Felix's pocket knife, which is really way too sharp for a kid, and I've made it my own. It's not true, it's still his, but it has been useful in the broadcast. Are we still broadcasting?
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. That is not how. I'm always nervous about cutting the thing. It's crazy to me that people just stick like knives into letters and what this thing's called?
Letter opener.
Hacksaw. Oh, there's a lot of stuff in here. So there's an envelope, right?
Okay.
And then there's a letter. And there's stickers.
Yay, stickers!
That we can use.
Oh, those are nice stickers.
Perhaps in our classrooms or when we're mailing stuff out. Never used these ones before. Yeah, there's a lot of stickers.
Oh my gosh.
This is an extravagant amount of stickers.
But then we can have.
I'm
this
happy.
Is perfect because we can integrate those into the pieces of work that we send out to people.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mom. So, Mom says, Dear Space Adventurers, more adventures, more stories to tell. We must use our voices and influence to stop the paving of the park. I will stand with you. Do whatever it takes. Haha. Love you always, Mom.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to stop the paving of the park. It's already begun.
Yeah, they're very, like, way faster than.
Yeah. And even if there was more time, there is not going to be any kind of protest that's going to stop the city of Calgary paving that park. It's like I've had enough experience living and running a space in the city that they just don't care. 100%. And if I'm wrong, I will apologize, but I'm not
Also,
wrong.
we like being wrong in those situations.
Yeah, I would be happy to be wrong. And I'm not telling people not to protest, but there might be better uses for your time.
G for goddess. These are goddess symbols.
Nice.
These are
Did you read the
beautiful.
letter? Did I zone out when you read the letter?
What do you mean?
You read?
Yeah, I read it already. What do you mean? It says, "Dear space adventurers, more stories to tell."
Now it's interesting because I played those Dead Kevins that were kind of like early experimental stages of Dead Kevin
Mhm.
from the beginning of the summer. Don't even recognize that guy. I like the stories, kind of like in an awkward sort of way, like, why am I doing this? But I what's interesting I find is even like the time shift that when your mom is responding to us via letter,
Mhm.
I have this tendency to assume she's talking about our most recent film, but it's not. It's probably several films ago. You know what I mean? Like there's a weird kind of like
Actually, this got to us really fast. March 3rd, this one's dated.
interesting.
That was Monday. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You did not cut me off. The mail can work really, really quickly, and I think there's
Yeah.
all kinds of factors. I remember listening to CBC, and there was a story about a lady from Newfoundland that sent her mother letters in Ireland on the regular. And because she mailed things often, there were times when she'd actually forgotten to put the postal code, and it still arrived where it was supposed to go. In this particular case, I believe the letter had her own return address or something, but it was lacking the uh, name or the address or both to her mother in Ireland. But the postal service had recognized the handwriting or something ridiculous and still got the letter to where it was supposed to be. And it was such an interesting like collaboration events that the letter made it all the way there with maybe like postage and the address missing, that it ended up becoming like a international CBC story that a real triumph of a mail delivery person that was paying attention.
That's so nice. There are good things. in this world.
Hello, Anna. How are you?
Hello.
So yeah, I'm reading a book called the Third Man Factor, which really has nothing to do with men. Although I haven't come across there was one of the stories where the voice was female, but it was more of a presence. So like they were just describing the sense that the other outside force didn't have a voice, but was more like a feeling. And I think he described the feeling as
Feminine.
no. It's the thing I'm good at, but I just dropped the word.
Empathetic.
Empathetic. And because it was empathetic, the person who was experiencing the presence had assumed that it might have been female.
That's not fair. You're like the most empathetic person I know. People are so.
I think the quality of empathy is probably stronger than if I were to generalize. Then I would have to assume that there was such a thing as a man and a woman. But
Right.
If that were true, like what we kind of recognize as that pattern, quality of empathy, something like, let's say, a guy like Donald Trump, for example. Not very empathetic. Or maybe so empathetic that he has to hide his sensitivity. I like that you don't have to pretend to like Donald Trump. Like last year, there was like a thing where like there was Canadians that were kind of like liberal and Canadians that were conservative, and somehow to make a comment against Donald Trump was like an implication that you were liberal minded, and that might be offensive to the conservatives. So like I remember feeling like I made a comment about Donald Trump online at the Rumble House, on the online Rumble House, and one of the people that came to figure drawing wrote me this like letter saying, "You put down Trump, and now I don't feel welcome at your figure drawing." I'm like, good, but like, where did I owe it to you to keep my politics to myself because I opened an art gallery? And there was somebody else that once wrote me like, "Oh, I didn't see Rumble House as the kind of place where they talked about their politics." I'm like, he does not know me very well, does he? And because I do.
Our
But
politics
now it's like
is taking care of
it's
people.
like permissive to be negative towards Donald Trump for the first time in a long time because there's a trade war. Otherwise, it was kind of like you were taking sides, and I'm kind of glad that
that made it easier.
pantomime is over.
Phew.
And then I keep asking because even a few months ago, I remember there's a number of people that quite liked Donald Trump and didn't like Biden. And I don't hear them talking about that anymore. Sort of quietly took that sponsorship away.
I think it comes naturally. That just naturally evolves. Time revealed all of that. Actually, something came up in the Dead Kevin thing, and I was trying to hold on to it to remember to talk about it after. Now
Which one? The one about the big blue circle?
Yeah. It was something that we were like. There was the blue, but then there was something else. I was like, "Oh yeah, that was exactly."
The big blue circle. Oh, you know what it was? I know what it was because I had the same thought. There was something about the way, the lack of thought that went into the Beaufort Towers and the paving of our favorite park. Is that what it was? Because I had the same
It's
thought.
close. Yeah, it's close to something
100%.
like that.
I recognize that. Like, oh, that's not even new for us. Now, the other thing I'm finding is that I have a number of friends that are like sort of campaigning, getting really worked up about, fighting the paving of Millennium Park. And I'm like, no, like, you don't understand. First of all, nobody's listening. Second of all, it's already started. Like, there wouldn't have been time if there was anybody that listened and if they cared.
That was the issue, is that they moved everything forward without. Oh, I know what it was.
What
Sorry.
was it?
You were talking about how public art is funded by the oil companies and how it's like 1% of their revenue is put towards public art as like a trade-off.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what's not part of the company and is going to be coming out of taxpayers' money is all of the work that they're doing on the park.
Is that true?
It is
no,
it is true. So they bought the space. And I've been following up because Cindy's been really good about sharing as soon as she gets information, which was the issue. Is it's like everything was very like cloak and daggers and obviously done a long time ago because of how fast they're moving. Like they started cutting the trees down today.
Right.
Like they kept everything very hush hush. Confidential to the people who had agreements with the land,
because they don't want people sneaking in and planting poplar trees.
Right, God forbid. Yeah, so if you have any, our PO box is 13035. Beltline RPO, but that's what I wanted to say. And yeah, I just really love you.
And there was sort of like, that was kind of like, we met a lot of politicians when things went badly with the Beaufort Towers because they suddenly like, oh, you know about art. Can we meet and talk about the future of art in the city? And it's like, yeah, sure, if you want. And then all just like lip service, nothing changes. So I might seem a little pessimistic when it comes to...
Is because you would talk about, get to know the community. actually do work with people.
Get down there and get to know who you're talking to. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
And they're like, oh no, we just meant to stop by. And
yeah, people
for
want
show.
something easy, and when they're asking you, half of it is asking you to do it.
Or just so that they can say that they had
That you talked
conversations,
about stuff,
like there was an effort made.
So it's like, yeah, you do have good ideas, but it takes involvement and thoughtfulness.
And then when the ideas are listened to, they get reduced. Like there was that point where somebody came by to us at Gorilla and just straight up asked, like, what would we do about graffiti? I'm like, well, I'll probably open up an art gallery where the graffiti artists can come in and authentically sell their work is probably what we would do. But I said, and here's what they could do, what the city could do, was they could open up a similar space where they provided spray cans and proper ventilation and canvases, and let young kids come in and experiment and make artwork. And if they do well, they can put their pieces in the gallery and sell it and keep all the money. And then, if they wanted to be really vindictive, they could, right before they buff the walls, they could go out and take photos of the artwork that existed that happened on a nefarious level. And they could even sell photos of the artwork that they had to buff off the walls. But what they ended up doing was announcing this program where if kids got caught doing graffiti, they would get either get charged, or they would
get art classes.
Yeah, get enrolled in art classes, which is kind of like a hustle to get kids to stop worrying about getting caught. Like, yeah, go ahead and keep doing graffiti, but if we catch you, we're just gonna fingerprint you, take your name, and then put you in art classes. Really a matter to get you in the fingerprints, not to get you in the art classes. So you gotta be careful of those things. They used to have a program at the Stampede where you could get your fingerprint taken, and if you got separated from your parents, they'd be able to reunite you easier. And technically, they said they wouldn't use your fingerprints to track you down if you started breaking into garages when you're 15, but you're still gonna, right? Still gonna run your prints.
Yeah, some people have no idea about public art.
Most people have no idea about public art. I generally think that I have an idea about public art, but I probably don't either. I think that so many things happen behind closed doors that even when you invest the time and energy, even people making public art for a living, we're probably all getting snowed in some way or another. Public art's a tough one anyways, because you're invading the public space and deciding what people should look at. So when we ran Gorilla and when we ran Rumble House, it was a public space. The doors were open. Anyone could walk in, but you had to walk in to see the art, right? And so I remember people coming by and they'd look at the walls and like, you guys show nudes? It's like, well, we don't not show nudes. Hadn't really thought about it, but yeah, I guess we do. And they started talking about how like some art galleries have like this like closed off adult room for artworks with nudes. I'm like, yeah, no, we don't do that. But you did have to walk inside to look. And I really got a deep sense of it we would always keep the gallery open during, say, like Stampede. And what I found was during the Stampede parade, people would come all the way downtown. And when they walked by our space, if they didn't need the washroom, it was like they were so angry that we had our doors open, because they had their funny little hats with the like cowboy hats and the whistles. And they felt like we're trying to sell them something. And the fact that we're sitting in the gallery during the Stampede, it was almost like people wanted you to see in their eyes, we're not here for you, we're here for the Stampede. And there was this weird, just kind of like automatic resentment that was so consistent and always there and always present. Where we're kind of like we're giving away buttons.
I was gonna just
and this
say
one
that.
guy's like, I don't want these buttons because they have swag, and I don't want your names. I'm like, well, I'm giving away free buttons, man. Like,
yeah,
it's okay if I sign my artwork if I'm giving you a free button. But he wanted it to be like he was going to lower himself to take one of my free buttons if he could find one that didn't have a reference to what we were doing. And it's not like I'm selling you Amway. It's like we wanted you to remember who we were, enjoy a button.
Oh, actually, we need to get more buttons.
Yeah. All right, now it's 8:51.
Oh wow, that went very fast.
Yeah.
I'm just writing a note so I can.
So it's tough with the public art because you're kind of forcing people to look, which I have mixed feelings about. You know, I do think people have an obligation to look at art, but I also think like, you know, maybe my deepest criticism, and I love graffiti, but my deepest criticism of graffiti is you kind of know, you need to know in your heart that you're the best artist and that people are just lucky to see what you have. Because when you're not asking them, what, you know, consent matters, right?
It's consent.
And maybe that's one of the things that the public art programs doesn't really have a strong grip on is the consent that is not about taxes. And people use the wrong words all the time to talk about things. They talk about taxes because tax money is easy. What they really mean is you didn't ask me if I wanted to look at this blob, you know? And obviously you can't interview every citizen and see if they approve of the artwork. But when you have to turn your eyes away from the artwork to avoid it, when it's in a public space, it's not the same as putting it in a gallery because you have a choice. And I'm on both sides of it, but I'm empathetic to why the lack of consent irritates people with the public art.
But that's why your idea was so good. The idea of having community meetings and the idea of having the community actually build like what's important to you. What are your values? What are things?
We said that they should set up a space where some kind of group leader could manage the production of public art, and each community would build their own public art piece. And even if it wasn't good, it would be built by the community and not by some organization that specialized in public art pieces. And we would start developing communities of people around Calgary that were experts in building
that have gone through the process.
local art pieces because they did it. So
Yeah.
kind of in the same process that you can have 15 to 20 parents from a school show up on a weekend, and the leader from Blue Imp will come and they'll build a park together. If you can have volunteers and parents come in on the weekend and build a park on a weekend, you could certainly have somebody like Blue Imp sponsor artists to make a permanent structure to stay in their community, especially if it's not being climbed on. So I'm a little tired. I don't think I explained that well, but it was a good idea.
You did. You did. You explained it well.
That really, instead of hiring somebody from Germany to design and install a giant blue circle, and that was the other thing, is each one of those grants was tied to an area, so that blue circle had to be on that bridge. But let's say instead of like going out and looking for Germans that know how to make something big and shiny, what if you had like they just opened up an office, and inside the office, somebody in that community happened to be an architect, and somebody else happened to be an artist, and they came together, and that group of people decided that neighborhood. Yeah, you know what? That's the only real way to graduate from AU Arts is to drop out. That's what Joni Mitchell said. But you know what? Like, it's a lifelong process. So you went to AU Arts for 1.5 years, and you got the rest of your life, and you can go back if you want to. I'd love to go back. I'd love to go back with my mouth now and be in first year and just like start shooting my mouth off, and I would go back and I would talk about things with a different sense of confidence. I do remember when I was in, it was ACAD the first time, and it's AU Arts now, but I remember when I was there was a pattern of like kind of people that are my age now. Like if I was 17 in a class with a bunch of like 20 to 30-year-olds, and there was one person who was in their 40s or 50s, that older student in the class was absolutely cherished in a different way. The instructors would sort of like take them under their wing, and everything they did was perfect. And I do understand they were probably smarter and wiser and doing better work than us. But I also think that there was kind of a bias towards supporting people that were attending those art schools later in life. So I would love to go back to art school my foundation year after a couple TED Talks, a couple book awards, and the 12 years of running Rumble and Gorilla House. And I'd just sit in class and teachers would teach me things, and I'm like, that's bullshit.
Did I tell you?
What? Yeah.
I think maybe the shift was when they changed to AU Arts, but they offer master's programs now.
Where?
I was looking,
what department?
There's a master's of craft, and I was.
That's the only one I know of is the master of craft. I don't think they have other masters.
Oh, maybe it is only that one because I was looking at that. for a student, but then
because I wanted to get my master's when Oliver hit, you know, the point where he was independent. I thought maybe I'll take what was previously my family support payments and get my master's. And I kind of looked into going to AU Arts, and I also looked into going to U of C. Only I would have been taking like classes from people that I know and don't often agree with.
Yeah, I don't think U of C, but like the AU Arts was kind of interesting because it's so self-guided, and craft is such a wide thing that was kind of an interesting.
Was it? What was the master's in? Was it? I thought it was in like fiber arts or something. It was cool, but it wasn't.
It was open to like, it was like sculpture, fiber arts, ceramics, glass. But I think the sculpture is pretty open-ended. Like,
and on top of that, I'm not particularly interested in craft as a painter, as a writer, as a drawing major. Craft isn't my main focus, right?
Interesting.
Not that I'm not crafty, but like the craft of painting isn't what I do, right?
Right. That's interesting.
That young lady that's described my Rubik's Cube skills as vibing my way through a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah.
I tend to vibe my way through everything, and
right.
Craft and craftsmanship isn't my focus as an artist. It's not mine. It's not the masters that I want to take.
No, it's totally fair.
There's something super cool I saw at Berkeley the last time I looked.
Oh my gosh, I was looking at Berkeley too.
Yeah, the last time we didn't go to Berkeley was because we're tied down to Rumble House.
The idea of Berkeley came up for me when we were listening to Dharma Bums. Oh yeah, craft and new media. And actually one of the professors I took English classes from him. He's in graphic novel and comic book. I really liked him as a teacher.
Was his name Richard?
No, it was no.
I think there was a Mount Royal instructor that also focused on comic books. It is funny that my drawing style is kind of comic book based. I like to write and draw, but personally, I haven't had I did make a comic book when I was 16, Chuck the Superhero, but I'm actually not particularly interested in making comic books. And my reason for that is that when I draw, I have to put myself all in. When I write, I have to put myself all in. Like that story I told about being on that cliff. It's a difficult story to tell because it's so visual. Then there's a few stories I haven't done a great job of telling. There's also that time that I jumped off that staircase to save my friend. Same guy, Martin.
Yeah.
And I can't really tell that.
Oh yeah. Last year, Fry. We were talking to Dick at the Blues Fest about it, and
so Daybrook 3 or Daybrook broke. I'm sure, like, if we saw your face, we'd know who we're talking to because you're familiar to me. Your tone seems familiar, and your palette seems familiar. But it's interesting from where we're sitting that we don't exactly know who you are because unless I met you as Daybrook before, and like, can you indicate if you're comfortable? Would you be comfortable letting us know?
Oh, Dawn.
Hi, Dawn. How are you? Did you know we didn't exactly know who you were?
Oh, that's clever. Day broke and her Dawn.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Nice. Was it your master's you were getting at AU Arts, Dawn? I remember being so thrilled when you got in. That was a journey we were all going on. Dawn, if you write us a letter, by the way, we will send you a painting. That's what I'm doing instead of an auction now. Twice this week, there was like new teachers in my school. There's a new teacher and a student teacher. And this is sweet. I didn't know this. The new student teacher came in. She's like, "You have a TED Talk?" I'm like, "How'd you know I have a TED Talk?" She's like, "Oh, Steven told me." I'm like, so my friends, when I'm not around, go, "Oh, that's Rich. He has a TED Talk." But when I am around, they're like, "Is he talking about his TED Talk again?" So that was really sweet. So I got to talk to, write us a letter. I got to talk to a student teacher today. It was really impressed with you and I because we have TED Talks, TEDx Talks. and then the new chaplain had come in and said, "Oh, I just saw this painting. Wow, you're really talented." And I was like, "Oh," blah, blah, blah. And then sometimes it's almost impossible to avoid talking about it. Like, well, when did I learn this about myself? Oh, it's kind of during the writing the TED Talk. And they're like, "Wait, you have a TED Talk?" And it's like, "Oh yeah." And then the moral of that story that it always leads to is, I had this dream to go see a TED Talk, let alone give one. That seemed like a wild dream. I'd given up on my dream to get published, and then it so happened that we landed in a publishing situation. And um, you have these dreams; they seem so unattainable. Then you attain these dreams. Like I remember that night that we showed that film in the theater, and then we all went over to the pub, and I was just numb. I was absolutely numb with like success. I was like so happy. And the next day you wake up and you're the same butthead as you were before. And it's like these things seem so important until you achieve them. And then once you achieve them, you're still empty inside, or whoever you were before, which in my case was back then kind of empty inside. I don't feel empty anymore.
I feel. I'm glad. I just love
Hello, dear ones. Let's see. You will be getting a letter.
Oh my gosh, look at those owls. Oh, Theo, it's beautiful.
They're scary.
I love it.
And it will be filled with stuff.
Oh.
There.
Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. Thank you.
There we go. And yeah, you know.
I'm looking forward to, I believe in the near future, we'll have to be more exclusive with what we send out in our letters. Right now, I'm just accumulating as much stuff for future letters as possible. One day, we'll be looking back at, like, you remember when Isle of Roux, we could send letters to whoever we wanted or send paintings to whoever we want. But right now, it's a real joy.
Called mail art.
Yeah. This has become our
It's
mechanism.
So joyful.
You know, and there is only one rule in mail art. You have to be respectful to the planet. I think that's about it. You know, mail art is done by tens of thousands of people, and for the most part, they're all respectful of one another. Occasionally, you know, they're not. Just like the folks that you encountered through the gallery. Most of them were wonderful and decent and respectful, and there was the odd person who didn't fall into that category. And yeah.
Worked out great, except for when the disrespectful person was me. Hey, Theo, you have a yard full of trees, don't you?
I'm sorry, what?
You have a yard full of trees, don't you?
I have a yard full of one tree. I just cut down another one, which was very sad, but it had to go.
Yeah. Did you have any of those? What are they called? Cuttings? Do you have any cuttings left of that tree?
This was about I don't know, 150-foot blue spruce. No, the cuttings were, the limbs were turned into mulch, sawdust, whatever, you know, they went through a chipper. And the trunk was cut up into pieces for firewood.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'm doing a little art project, and I need
seeds and
substantial amount of poplar seeds if you can help me find them.
Poplar.
Yeah.
I don't even know what a poplar tree looks like.
Oh, have you ever seen one of those little trees that grow up between the cracks in the sidewalk?
Well, I've seen trees, various kinds and various plants growing through cracks in sidewalks.
Yeah, there was a tree that grew up, and there's a crack behind the door on the sidewalk, and this little branch turned into a tree over the years. And after a while, I had to start pruning it because it was growing up and touching the power lines that attached to the building.
Yep. Yeah. Well, trees. You know, Mother Nature is pretty persistent.
Life will find a way.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, that's one of the things that makes life interesting for we little inhabitants on spaceship Earth.
Totally.
Yeah. It's nice, you know. stop and smell the roses, look at the trees. You know, don't freak out when you see a spider and step on it, because you know, it's got just as much right to life as you have.
Felix wrote a poem about that when he was 3 years old. It was like,
See a flower growing.
don't
Pick
kill
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out for barking dogs.
No. Anyway, enough philosophizing. I'm going to run away now, dear ones. You can expect mail. Love you.
Love
Theo,
you too, Theo.
Yes.
if it came to it, would you be interested in playing a space wizard in my space series?
Oh, sure. You need, you know, let me know when you want to do it, and we'll see whether, you know, I have time in my very busy life. You know, I mean, I make art, I nap, and I bowl. Yeah, it's jam packed.
If it's easier and you're able to set it up, I could just send you a scene and you could shoot it on your own and mail me the clip, and I can edit it together too, if that works out for you.
Yeah, yep, there's that possibility too. This camera here is not too bad. I've got another one on another computer that's good. The one that I use for that you see when I'm working on the table seems to, at least I see it as these bands going across it, and it's quite annoying.
I can't see bands on you. The picture's nice and clear.
Well, this is, but the
other one.
The other one, not so, as far as I'm concerned. It does bug me. I'm not OCD though. No, I don't, you know, punch holes in the walls because of it, but close.
One of my amazing students was arranging crayons today, and I had to laugh because it's just a funny thing to see somebody, like, when they break and they're like, the crayon box is like, I need to put all the red ones together. It's like,
yeah, that's a reasonable thing. Okay, guys.
Okay, have
for
a good
now.
night, Theo.
Bye.
Bye. Take care. Change the thing over.
I don't know what happened there.
We'll see you. Let's say good night.
Freddie Maynard's here.
Hi, Freddie. Oh, and we met him at the
How come
TEDx talk.
how come I can't
He
get back
was
in here?
playing music.
Let's do this. Let's do this. Was it where? Oh yeah, TEDx.
Yeah.
That is also where we met Scott
Yeah. And April.
and April, and I guess Raheem. Come to think of it,
Come to think of it, yeah, you're totally right.
it is funny how, like, those relationships tend to transcend, and then you get really confused about where they originated.
Right, because everything starts connecting.
Right.
That is really nice.
Dawn used to go to both Rumble and Gorilla House, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And then I would say I probably have a stronger memory of Dawn in the early days of Rumble House. To tell you the truth, there was a lot of times at Gorilla House I didn't get a chance to talk to anybody. I was just in my bubble, multitasking. What I find is the closest thing I have to that now is when we're shooting the content, because we do it so
Right.
fast with such little preparation and little room for adjustments that I'm
You're
holding
thinking.
so many things in my head at
Yeah.
once. And then my poor little boy Felix, he'll have a new idea for the. Now I'm open to suggestions up until the camera comes out. Like, hey, let's write a script. He's like, I'm playing a video game. And then I'm like, yeah, okay, let's go shoot. I need you over here, and I need you over here. And he's like, what if I was said nope? I was like, up until 10 minutes ago, I was open to suggestions. But once I'm sort of like holding that image in my head,
Mhm.
I'm cutting the video in my head from the onset. Right.
While
So
you're recording it.
I write
yeah.
the script, and I'm like kind of memorizing moments of what's going to happen next. And that little dude gets funny ideas that he wants to add into the scripts right as we're shooting them. It's like, the timing is suspect. What a cute little guy, though.
Mhm.
We're getting close. We usually drop out of here at around 9:35.
Mhm.
I feel like tonight was a little more low key and a little more like laid back. That if we had people that were actually watching, wanting to be entertained, they probably wouldn't. But I like that there's also like this idea that you could just watch what we're doing while you're cooking and not really need to be entertained. Just sort of like having some comfort noise in the background. And maybe one of the greatest compliments I got since we started doing this, and from before when we started doing this, was I didn't know that Kevin was watching the Rumble House videos from the hospital, and so we often don't know like who's coming in from where. But that was a really huge thing to discover. Okay, what do you think I've got here? What am I doing? What is it? You know? You don't know, do you?
People at an art gallery.
It's kind of like a vision of like a alternate reality Rumble House. That's what that is.
Oh, Freddie's making sourdough listening to us. That's
Now-
awesome.
Freddie, if you want to join us, there's a link right here. I'm gonna click it in. You don't have to.
We're making sourdough. Wouldn't be-
But if you click on that, you can join us. That's pretty fun too. And also, Freddie, if you mail us a letter, currently, we will mail you fan letters
And artwork.
and tell you that you're wonderful. And currently, all you gotta do is mail us a letter, and you get a painting. And maybe in the future, if more letters than we can paint start coming up, we'll have to come up with another system. But currently, there are few enough letters coming, about one a week, that we have
Mhm.
more paintings than letters. That's
Yeah.
actually quite exciting. place to
Dawn,
be.
all you have to do is copy that link.
Yeah.
And actually, yeah. So if you copy and paste, it should actually help you go through the steps of just joining.
I'm
Right?
wondering.
Is that correct?
It'll give you instructions. Did I not make it clear that everybody was welcome? Because that was the whole plan. Also, I'm interested in knowing, like, Dawn, is this your first night with us? Or I would love that. Where do I sign up for a painting and a letter? Oh, right in the corner here. Where's my hand? I need to put my hand the other way. There we go. And it's not intuitively where you think it was. I think I'd be better at this one. Post box 13035, Beltline, RPO, Calgary, Alberta, T2R1C6. If you mail us a letter, when we mail you your letter back, we like to call them fan mail, and we're not so presumptuous as to think that we deserve fan mail. We're writing fan mail to you. So you write us a letter, and we will write you back. And on top of writing you back, we will send you one of the paintings. Because Rich has gone
Demonetized.
I demonetized. Rich never wants to sell another painting again. Oh, until I do.
Sometimes I start talking about myself in the third person to my class,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Who's she? What do you mean she?" And then I was like, "She is she." Like,
Does that come from the times where I've personified you or reverse personified you into a painting? Like, you think, because definitely when I'm painting you, you talk about yourself in the third person. I don't. I sing about myself in the real time. Like, Mr. Teru's trying to push his cart through the hallway.
I do that for sure.
None of
Hi,
the kids
Dawn.
will get out of his way.
Nice to see you. Yeah, I do that too.
Now,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's awesome, Dawn. And we can hear you and see you. Can you hear us?
yeah, I can hear you guys.
Oh, that's good.
I'm trying to figure out where all the noise is coming from.
We're not hearing any noise.
I-
I bet you're hearing like a repeat sort of feedback of us. Are you hearing
But
everything
she has
twice?
her headphones on, so it's weird.
I'm hearing fine, except that I was having two,
Like an echo.
I could hear two. Not an echo, but I could hear two.
Oh.
Like you're hearing us. There's a delay.
Yeah, there was a delay.
Is it corrected itself? Oh, turn the
I just
sound off.
shut
on
off the sound for the other.
Isn't it exciting
On
learning new
on
things?
one, I turned it off on YouTube.
Oh, that's
Good.
perfect.
Yes. So I've you may have known that I had gotten myself a spinning wheel
Yes, yeah.
before I went to. So I'm taking my first year of university, and during the COVID, and it's in the craft. But it was a first year is blank year. I mean, you do as much as you can. So being online was no problem,
Right.
and we finally get into person, and there was I was wandering around in the. I was sort of leaning for jewelry,
Mm.
which I dropped because my fingers can't handle it.
Mm.
Um, but it's you take the fibers too, and I ended up there was a I think it was the dyeing classes that I was interested in first because that's something you really, if you don't have the space, you can't really do.
Yeah.
So I was wandering around there and I saw the looms, those 2 rooms full of looms,
Mm.
It's like they're hanging over you.
and I now have a table loom,
Beautiful.
an inkle loom, and weaving cards. And this year, I figured out how to because I've been playing around on the dang thing, and I was going to take the second year of weaving, the second weaving class, the more advanced one,
Yeah.
and then ended up getting gout.
Oh no.
And you can't walk, and it swells up at the weirdest times. Anyway, I I've been playing around. This was a double weave.
It's
I
beautiful.
did it so that I could make it double wide off my little loom. So
Oh, that's gorgeous.
thank you. It's all cotton. Well, a little linen, but mostly cotton.
I love linen.
I'm still embroidering, not
Beautiful.
doing as much as I should, but
Oh, thank you for showing us that, Dawn. That's
Where's the gout?
beautiful.
Is it in your hands, do you mean?
foot
Okay.
in my foot, my toes.
My
It's really
grandpa
hard to walk.
my grandpa had gout, although I'll admit I don't really know what that means.
It's uric acid crystals in the joints.
Mm. So is it
Mostly happens to the feet.
Oh
right?
my.
And do you know where it came from? Like what's the cause? Oh, co-op are they?
It's a dietary problem.
Oh,
It's a dietary problem.
Mm.
I like meat. I'm
oh,
not a vegetarian.
that's hard.
Guess who has to change her diet?
Oh, that's a big shift too, changing.
Oh, yeah. So now I'm gearing up to warp the wee beast, and this time the project is a floor mat with jute.
Oh, cool.
Those are all my favorite words.
Yeah. Cotton, linen, jute.
I lucked into a full spool of jute at a secondhand shop.
Very cool.
Yeah, I thought so too. I still draw. I still paint.
Good. That's so
I
important.
mean, I haven't been feeling good. It's coming out in the pictures.
You look lovely.
At least it comes out. Those feelings come out in the drawings. For
True.
sure.
It's a bear. I see a bear.
Yeah, I think that's Amanda working on it. Yeah, Amanda's there, and Kelly. Amanda's in the top one, and Kelly's from her studio too.
Kelly is the jewelry?
Yeah, yeah, I think Kelly's working with resin right now.
Oh, that's another thing I've got to do. Oh, it's another bear.
Yeah,
I promised my granddaughter some resin jewelry.
oh,
I had a necklace on when she saw me, and she thought it was cool. So I have to now make her some seashell jewelry.
oh, very cool. Oh, cool.
Those are pretty.
Here, let me see. I'll make it bigger here.
Are they bears? They look like bears.
Yeah, totally.
Too bad the camera is being grumpy.
Yeah, it's not. It looks like bears, but it's hurting my eyeballs. Gummy bears? Are they like gummy bears?
Yeah.
Here, Rich, are you showing?
I'd say so.
I was just about to move on to another
Oh
one.
wait, can you show the? I mean, just made your
Maybe
thing big.
next time.
Oh man,
Oh, I threw it.
I threw it.
Yeah, they're little resin bears.
Oh,
They're
cute.
really tiny. They have
Oh.
posters and stuff.
Very
They're actually even smaller than that. They're just not done. But they are resin. And they're hand painted.
Those bears really stick with me.
Uh-huh.
They really resonate.
resin.
Resonate. Uh-huh. Okay. I got a lot of paintings. I'm sick of painting. I don't want to paint anymore. I'm gonna take up knitting. Right.
Must be something going around.
Yeah. I think maybe sometimes it's a little bit easy to get disheartened as well with the way the world is going.
Oh my God.
It's a little bit like this concern we had where we just found out our favorite park and our favorite festival is in danger. But at the same time, everything's in danger. So it's hard to like
Yeah.
hard to get worked up about the festival park when, you know, people might not have access
Park.
to meet next month. So
We just do our best every day. That's all.
Yep.
yeah, our philosophy at Gorilla House was when things got tough, we would focus in on our community. And then
Yeah.
when we lost control of the community, we would focus in on our block. And then if we lost control of the block, we'd focus in on our apartment suite. And then we lost
Your
control of
family,
the
yeah.
apartment suite, we'd focus in on our family. We just keep shrinking it down or expanding it. In the good times, it might be a community of 500. And in the rough times, it might be just you and the people next door. But that's actually something that those are the things that get threatened, right? Like it's so important to me right now that Jess and I drive to work together because that's one of the things keeping me sane in the morning. So if she or I were to change schools, we'd have to buy another car. We wouldn't have that time in the mornings together. And so it didn't used to matter what school we're at as much as it does that right now part of my sanity comes from like this beautiful person I share the car with in the morning. That's part of my sanity, Dave. You know, for a long time we worked at different schools and we weren't able to commute together. And so we took for granted, we take for granted very easily that time we have in the mornings. But then like when it sometimes comes down to like what's going to happen if one of us shifts to a different school, well, now we need 2 parking spots and we need 2 cars and we lose that.
And that time together.
Yeah.
I get to retire before Jesse does. That's no time soon. But when I do retire, it's my intention that I will talk whoever's my current employer at the time. I'll tell them they would really benefit from hiring Jessica in my place because then they'd get 2 of us for the price of 1. Because I think once I retire, I'll just follow her to work and be a volunteer in the classroom, and I won't have to do any of the staff meetings. I don't feel like, but I'll just sit there and paint and help the kids when I'm free, which isn't too different than what I do now.
That sounds like a dream.
And then, if things do get stressful or irritating, I just get in the car and go for coffee. Leave her with the kids' school problems. Come back and they're solved. You want Tim Hortons? Give me a buzz when the drama ends. We don't actually drink coffee from Tim Hortons anymore.
Okay. Popsicle sticks. There it is. Ouch.
Hey, Jess.
Yeah.
These are the smallest earrings that I've painted before.
Hold on. Give me a sec. Whoa.
It's a dragon. Right?
Oh yeah. I was gonna. It looks a bit further back. Yeah, you can see the wings. It's very cool.
It's on a moon.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
But I had it prior to the gold.
That's really nice.
And it's got the post already in it.
Very
So yeah,
nice.
they're really small.
That's so nice. So little, hey?
Yeah. I have no idea how they're gonna fit. I haven't tried them on yet.
That's okay. Oh look. I like Amanda's drawing. Look at that bear.
That's a sad little bear.
I like the bear.
Me and Alan were painting bears today, so.
I saw the pictures you posted.
When is he going to join us?
I don't know. He did say he wanted to write you guys a letter. He asked me for paper.
That's so nice.
Oh, that reminds me.
Nothing happening on the live feed.
There's lots happening.
We're all waiting for someone to say something.
Look, this is the symbol of generosity that kept coming up. It's kind of like the belly of the goddess symbol too, which I really like. The spiral is a really like the idea of giving and receiving, and like that. I'm embroidering gratitude. Did I say generosity? I meant gratitude. Symbol.
So next time I see you, Rich, I'll bring you some of these.
Oh, I'm done with those. Thank you.
Oh, you don't like them?
I love them, but don't bring them to me.
Don't bring him what?
Sugar.
There's ginger chews.
Kelly's an enabler.
I only have one. That's about it.
We're not controlled like that.
Well, and also I think because we gave up sugar, that when there is sugar, it's like, oh, I'm in control. I don't need any of those. And then you have sugar. So yeah, it's better for me to just keep it out of my.
No, I've been drinking tea without sugar, so it's pretty good. I like it.
Here's something I learned when I was teaching science this week. When we gave up sugar and actually drinking, I started making myself this drink, and it's made out of a bunch of crazy spices. And then doing some reading later on, one of the things I like to do is mix all these crazy spices into a glass of lemon, but I learned that the lemon is actually really bad for your teeth. So then I started cutting back on the lemon. But then when I was teaching my kids about pH, acids, and bases, I kind of stumbled across the idea that if I put, and I kind of knew that people put lemon and cucumber together, but I didn't realize that the lemon and the cucumber together neutralize each other so that they're not acid or base, and it won't damage your teeth as much. Isn't that interesting? So I teach a little bit of kooky science at school, and currently learning why things are happening that I used to take for granted.
I would have thought brushing with baking soda after drinking lemon would balance things out. But then our mouths are fairly acidic to start with.
Yeah,
Humans are very acidic.
yeah.
Truth.
Artists too. We're extra salty.
Sometimes.
Don, do
Some of us are just.
do you ever miss the co-op?
I have several years worth of really strange stories out of that place.
Did we meet you at co-op and then you came to Gorilla, or did we meet you at Gorilla and then saw you at co-op?
I don't know if you had seen me at the co-op, but I had been going by there heading home. I lived
Yeah,
up in Martle Loop at the time,
yeah.
and I saw one of the signs out fairly early, and I was curious about it, and then forgot about it, and then I don't know how I ended up just popping in one night, but yeah.
I remember Mark telling me his experience of showing up, that he and some friends that were ACAD instructors were kind of nervous of showing up. And I was like, you guys were nervous. So we're like, we heard the ACAD instructors coming, and just the different perceptions we had of each other, biases and what we expected of each other was interesting, because I would have liked to think that I was walking around humbly, expecting to see who was coming in and ready to be blown away by anybody. But as we were a little intimidated by the group of instructors coming in. Mark had mentioned that he was a little intimidated about our swagger, and it's just interesting how, like, especially I think when you're feeling insecure, we everybody was kind of either covering up or over whatever, like there's just a combination of like
Yep.
different personas. And one of the things that would shock me was, like, I often got the impression speaking to people that people thought I was a lot meaner than I thought I was, because my job was to try and keep order, but also to try and be as polite as possible all the time. And I didn't
Well,
realize.
that is a one of those diagrams that are definitely not anywhere near each other. You can only keep control with a nice semi veneer of niceness.
Right. Well, maybe they just thought I'd have to be nuts to do what I was doing, you know. But there's a lot of times, there's nights where, like, I remember I walked outside and there was this drunk guy, and he must have been 7 feet tall and probably 300 pounds. Like, he looked like an NBA basketball player, and he'd reached over and he'd snatched Oliver's spray can out of his hand, and he was trying to drink it. And I was like, I don't know how to move this guy out of the space because he's not physically big enough to intimidate him. And I just told him he had to go home and take a nap, and he did. It's like, I was really grateful that he took me seriously, but there wouldn't have been much I could have done to physically move him. But maybe neither he or I had figured that out yet. So sometimes just believing that he was going to leave when I asked him to. Turns out, I don't know what I'm drawing. I'm kind of irritated and tired, and I'm sort of drawing a young Nosferatu who's maybe just waking up, but then when you're not thinking, you're kind of on autopilot. It's funny what comes out. And then last week, one of our friends mentioned I made a painting that seemed suggestive. This is not intentionally meant to be suggestive. I'm just building a Nosferatu there. and he's in.
What one person sees as um, suggestive is another person's. What are you talking about?
Mhm.
Um, on the 7 foot tall person, uh, my youngest sister was in air sea cadets,
Yeah.
and she aged out. She reached the top of the. She was she was as high up in the cadets as she could go,
Until the
as well
army.
as being.
Yeah.
She didn't go into that, but at not quite 5 foot, she's 4'11". Not sure whether they would have taken her. Anyway, she's this little redhead.
We've met your daughter.
No, this is my sister. One of my
Oh,
sisters.
okay.
It'll seem like I have half a dozen sisters. There's only like 4 of them. Um,
It's like my wife. It's at least for that lady. They're
yeah,
all pretty wonderful, but
yeah,
each one is
yeah.
unique. You were saying about your
They
sister?
are all unique. That is anyway. She was it was her last trip to. They send all the sea cadets to a place on the coast um, for several weeks during the summer for sea training.
Right.
And
Can you tell me roughly what year this was?
oh god, um, 80. It would have been. She's exactly 10 years younger than me, so it would have been 89, 89 or 90.
Okay. And what
And
province
she's
was it from Calgary?
I know she was in she we were in BC.
Okay.
So I send all of them to
Right.
Quadra Island, and she was there. And this fairly new dude, but he was tall and he was imposing to the younger kids,
Yeah.
and he was ordering people around in her section, and she walks in and he starts ordering her around, and
Karate chop.
huh?
Karate chop.
Oh, not quite karate. She was really good at. She got her
De-escalate.
grandmother's. She had developed. She had acquired our grandmother's ability to dress down people in a calm and threatening voice,
Yeah.
and
That's
yeah,
that's. Is she the
but
youngest sibling?
yes,
That's a skill the youngest siblings often develop.
yeah.
Survival.
My my youngest is also the same.
Yeah, you have to be.
Um, good. In my family, it's a skill that you would really need to have.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, no, she chewed this kid out right royally, and he by the time she was finished with him, he was mamming her, and he was the color of her hair.
Mm.
Did I
My dad
mention she
was
was a redhead?
my dad was in Sea Cadets, and he was in Sea Cadets with Alexander Jambier.
Oh, cool.
They were in St. Paul near Bonneville,
Yeah.
and I remember he told me that they went on a camping trip over the
Uh,
summer and spent the entire summer in the woods, and nobody had brought a mirror. And he said when they got back, he'd forgotten what he looked like, and I always thought that would be quite an experience to be out in the woods long enough that you could forget what you looked like. I'm recognizing
um,
from Jesse's body language that we're going off air soon.
oh, yeah. My favorite. I wasn't in any of these things, but I enjoyed her stories of winter camping.
Yeah,
They just haul them off with a tarp and a couple of hatchets into the woods in the winter, in January, in northern British Columbia.
Yeah,
That's my like worst nightmare. That's like
I spell Nosferatu.
NOS
Yeah.
FER
Yeah.
ATU.
Nosferatu is a very long word.
All right, we're gonna say goodnight. Thank
Good
you
night.
for listening. We love you.
We'll see you next
Night.
Wednesday. We'll share the
Good
link
night.
again and we can make art together again.
Send us
So,
some
Okay.
pictures and we'll mail you some paintings.
yeah.
So this is my ankle loom before we all disappear.
Cool.
I'm making a band.
That is so cool, Dawn. Thanks for showing us. And we'll see you next week. Join again next week.
I'll try. I'll try and remember.
Yeah, no stress. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Dawn.
Bye.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.